Panorama with a hard-hitting investigation into allegations of violent brutality in Iraq.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Vine on Panorama tonight. The Battle of Danny Boy, a violent and bloody firefight which left 28 Iraqis dead and a clutch of medals for the victors.
It's a story of tremendous courage which represents the British Army at its absolute best.
Lawyers acting for Iraqis now say what other soldiers did after this incident amounted to torture, unlawful killing and cover-up.
He said to me, "You are a liar." And then I heard him loading his handgun and he fired 2 rounds towards me. I don't know whether it was above me or to my side.
The Ministry of Defence says its soldiers did nothing wrong, and the evidence is far from clear-cut. But it's not just coming from Iraqis.
All the blokes were running past and punching him in the head. And there was a massive ditch, and he was on his knees in there. Every time he kept crying out, he was knocked to the floor. They'd leave him for a bit until he started squirming, and then lift him up again until he started moaning again.
For more than a year now, Panorama has been investigating allegations which, if true, would cast a stain on the reputation of our troops in Iraq. Until this month, a gagging order prevented us or anybody else reporting them. But we went to court and we won the right to air this programme. So tonight we can weigh the evidence and ask if the incident we'll hear about wasn't the inevitable result of a decision to allow brutal interrogation techniques. A decision even the Attorney General of the time tells us should not have been taken.
The ground invasion of Iraq began in March 2003. It was a rout. But within days, one officer saw something that worried him deeply. 40 Iraqi prisoners, hooded, handcuffed and left kneeling for hours in the blazing sun. Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Mercer was a senior lawyer on the ground in Iraq. The Ministry of Defence has told us we cannot interview Mercer. But Army court transcripts show he repeatedly signalled up the line that the British Army was breaking the law. The response alarmed him.
I am informed that this is in accordance with British Army doctrine on tactical questioning.
Mercer wrote in his diary,
"In my view, it violated the law of armed conflict."
It was the first hint that in defiance of British law and the Geneva Convention, the Army was using techniques banned as inhuman more than 30 years previously. In 1972, with the Troubles in Northern Ireland at their height, the British government faced outrage when it emerged that Republican prisoners had been tortured.
They just got a hold of my hands and made them spread out like that there. And I stood there for hours until the blood seemed to leave my fingers.
These interrogation techniques became known as the Big Five: hooding, stress positions, constant noise, deprived of sleep and starved of food and water.
I was made to face a wall, sit on a chair, not speak, not sleep, nothing. Just sit there. If I did close my eyes, I got a thump in the face.
As public anger grew, the government got out of the torture business fast. Prime Minister Edward Heath told Parliament he was banning the 5 techniques, and he left no wriggle room.
The techniques will not be used in future as an aid to interrogation. The statement that I've made covers all future circumstances.
It couldn't be clearer. Call it torture, call it inhuman treatment. The British Army would never use it again.
Let's have a look at this one.
But within weeks of the invasion of Iraq, British Private Gary Bartlam was amongst many snapping images like this. Iraqi prisoners, hooded, made to stand for hours on end, deprived of water, food and sleep. The 5 techniques were back.
As you can see clearly that they are tagged, cuffs behind the back, sandbags on the head. I did a total of 4 hours altogether watching those detainees.
Just 4 hours continuously?
No, I had a bit of a break and then obviously come on a bit later on in the day. so potentially they could have been there over 8 hours.
Bartlam was only doing what he was told, but on whose orders? The answer may lie here at the Defence Intelligence and Security Centre at Chicksands, Bedford, where the military are taught how to interrogate. MOD rules now specifically state that the 5 techniques should not be used. But according to court testimony, stressing and hooding were approved at brigade level in Iraq to prolong the shock of capture for up to 6 hours.
I did not feel I wanted to extend that process for an unlimited period. It was too much of a risk. Conditioning is something that clearly causes a certain amount of stress.
And in May 2003 there was plenty of stress at this place, Camp Breadbasket. Some British soldiers playing sadistic games. Iraqi prisoners accused of looting, beaten, trussed up, humiliated. Some of the photographs, though not all, were taken by Gary Bartlam. When they first emerged, they caused outrage. Tony Blair was quick to distance the government from blame.
We do not tolerate this type of activity in any shape or form at all.
One of the men to get the blame was Gary Bartlam. He admitted aiding and abetting abuse by taking the photos. He went to jail. No officers were prosecuted. He says he lost the habit of questioning orders when, during training in Germany 5 months earlier, a corporal spotted he'd mislaid his gas mask.
I said, sorry, it won't happen again. At this point, he still kept raising his voice and he said, stick your effing jaw out. And I said, no. And he said it again. And on the 4th time, he punched me in my face. It doesn't just break in one place. With the force of the blow what he punched us with, it obviously followed through and snapped this side as well.
The Lance Corporal was cleared of assault. He told a court-martial Bartlam lashed out, and when he pushed him in self-defence, he fell, breaking his jaw. Bartlam says a culture of casual violence spilled over to the treatment of prisoners. With 2 metal plates in his jaw, Bartlam insists that he was in no position to challenge that.
Now they say that, oh, I'm a bad apple. In fact, now with all these other incidents, what is it now? A bad orchard in the army.
Even the Red Cross was worried, accusing British Army interrogators in April 2003 of brutal treatment, hooding and stress positions. And Lieutenant Colonel Mercer was still trying to change things. He wrote an order setting out how the British Army should behave.
Detained persons should be treated with humanity and dignity at all times. They should not be assaulted.
Mercer's 2003 order contained a disturbing reference.
There have recently been a number of deaths in custody where Iraqi civilians have died whilst being held by various units in theatre.
The MOD insists that Colonel Mercer was referring to just 2 deaths in British Army custody. They say both were investigated and found to be due to natural causes. Mercer's warning went unheeded, but then this, September 2003. The British are hunting for insurgents who'd killed an officer with a roadside bomb. The suspect has vanished, but they arrest 10 hotel workers. Hooded, the Iraqis are kept in stress positions, deprived of water, food and sleep, and suffer constant noise from a nearby generator.
If we fail to keep upright, we would be strangled around our necks until we are out of breath, to make us stand quickly to get ready for more beatings. And the British soldier used to kick us in the kidneys and around the head to force us to stand.
After 36 hours of brutality, the men were left lying in their own excrement, suffering from eternal bleeding, ruptured organs and broken bones. And one of them, hotel receptionist Baha Musa, lay sprawled over an open toilet. He was dead.
None of the people who were responsible for the death of Musa were charged or even called as witnesses in some cases. Nobody is any the wiser as to who killed Baha Musa. Nobody has got to the bottom of how it was that the Big Five were reintroduced and used in that incident. It's woefully inadequate.
Baha Musa's killing led to a war crimes trial that lasted 6 months. At the end, 6 soldiers walked free. One lowly corporal admitted inhuman treatment. Some said the wrong people had been charged. There were 93 separate injuries on Baha Musa's body. No one was charged with murder.